Hello, this is John with Brainstorm Comics and Gaming, and I'm joined this week by Chris. Can you feel the love tonight? And I'm not going to sing. I'm not going to sing the lyrics because I don't want to pay the royalties. But the answer to that question is: can you feel the love tonight? Yes, you can, because Chris is a tattoo artist. Let them know how they can get in touch with you there, Chris.
My Instagram page is Christopher Love Tattooer.
So, Chris is joining us for this week's Turning the Page. We will be discussing 4 topics this week. I know one you're really excited about. When I gave you that last one, you were like, oh yeah, let's talk about that one.
I have so many opinions. Not really. It's just a few.
So before we begin, though, don't forget to LCS, like, comment, and subscribe to the Brainstorm Comics and Gaming YouTube channel. And let's get started with topic number 1. So we will start with a return to Otis. I don't know whether you watched me and Chandler discussing that one in a previous video or not. But for those who have not watched, Otis is where you can invest in big ticket items by owning a percentage of it, but not actually ever touch it in your life. To me, I think it was a weird thing. I think you said you agreed that you would never.
100%. Yeah, it's silly. I actually went on Otis and tried to dig a little bit and looked around.
Buy some sneakers?
No, I didn't buy any sneakers. No. It's very, I don't know, weird, and they use jargon and wordage of they use words like IPO and properties and stuff to make it sound legit, yeah, and it really seems like it's not. I don't know. There's no oversight. There's no real. It's just stuff, and they're you can own 1/1,500th of this thing
for pennies on the dollar.
Pennies on the dollar, and
so let's talk about the thing why it's on our radar again this week, and that is an X-Men #1 graded at 9.2. They put up to a vote for the shareholders. I'm going to put it in quotes, shareholders of the item, whether they should sell it or not. And 92% voted yes. And they sold it for, I think, $225,000.
$225K,
something like that.
Yeah.
The buy-in was $75. I think the payout was $123 or $124 or something like that. What about those 8% who did not want to sell that book at that time? What do we feel about that?
I mean, yeah, it's weird. And I guess if I was one of those 8% people that didn't want to sell that book, it would probably suck a bit. But I feel like that's kind of the point of their whole deal, is that when people make offers on these, that they're just you're buying this to sell it and make a profit. There's no collector value to it. It just feels like they're exploiting.
It's investment.
It's investment, but it's investment in the weirdest, shadiest ways. It's like speculating, but just on a grander scale, I think.
Yeah. So my problem with it is, what if somebody had bought in last week at the higher price point? Because I'm assuming the price has changed depending on trading and stuff. I assume that there's trading of shares and.
You would think there would have to be, because why else would you
buy into it
if you couldn't share or sell your shares of this thing? The whole thing is very weird to me, and
so the other thing is they promote it as as a stock exchange sort of thing, whereas you own stock. Again, I'm going to use a quote, stock in an item.
There's so many air quotes already.
But you don't really, if the majority can override your ownership in it.
Right, and there's also, I feel with the real stock market, there's oversight. Someone's guaranteeing that what you're buying is worth this and how many of these things are there. With this, there's zero oversight. So they say there's, I think it was 1,500 people. There was 1,500 shares of that particular book.
Yeah, something like that.
How do we know that they're not just selling 1 million shares of this and pocketing the money and just being well, 1,500 people will get it, and yeah.
Also, how do you know who made the offers and stuff? I don't know how much transparency there actually is in all of this. And I
didn't dig that deep because it just annoyed me.
Yeah.
But the whole thing feels very kind of shady. I do love that they're you can come to our pop-up in New York and view the items that you own. Yeah, which is kind of funny to me.
So you get to pay for a plane ticket to
Sure.
go visit the item that
your sealed Pokemon graded.
I'm sure
video
that
game.
there's a entry fee in order to get to the
Probably
to the pop-up
It's like a
as well.
speakeasy. It's like super secret squirrel. I love it. So bad.
I don't know. Would you have sold it? Would you have voted yes if you had set shares, get a return of like $50 on your?
I think if I was the type of person that was going to do that, then yeah, because I feel like that's what the point of it is to sell it and make money. There's no collecting value in that.
That's the weird. That is the weirdest thing to me though. Is it seems like they're trying to have it both ways, as for investment and for collectors. Like,
I think it's more of exploiting collectors.
you
Really,
think so?
is like somebody who is never going to have the chance to own that book. Maybe feels in some way that they're part of that history.
Yeah.
Which I feel like exploits people who like want to collect in a bad way.
Well, I guess it could also appeal to those who want to be a part of something bigger, and it feels
Sure.
like you're a part of like.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I still don't understand it. I still don't.
I mean, I don't really understand the hype, I guess. Like, I don't know what that's going to do for you. Like, I'm, a part owner of a X-Men #1. You're not going to get much clout out of that.
You don't brag about that.
I mean, maybe you do, but I don't know.
I own
Right.
0.07%.
I own 1/100th of a Michael Jordan rookie card that I've never seen and or touched.
Well, we'll turn the page on this topic. I'm sure we'll come back to Otis again as more ridiculous things pop up. And
Probably.
so let's move on to topic number 2. And that is the vampires are overtaking the DCU. They have 2 big things coming up. Number 1, they have DC versus vampires. And then they also have Task Force Z, which I'm kind of confused because part of it sounds like it's zombies instead of vampires, but it seems like they were also pushing it as like a vampire type story. So, but regardless,
Yeah, I think I have the same feelings that you do. The 100% on board for DC versus vampires.
yeah. Task Force Z sounds cool too. I don't know whether you read the.
I did read the little blurbs on that. I'm less stoked on that just because personally I dislike Suicide Squad.
What?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
So allow me to read the solicit for it before you badmouth it too much.
I'm not gonna badmouth it too much. I'm just gonna say Captain Boomerang and just leave it at that.
Captain Boomerang.
Captain Boomerang.
So the solicit for Task Force Z reads as follow. On A-Day, hundreds of Gotham City's most dangerous and deranged criminals were left dead after an attack on Arkham Asylum, and now they're getting a second chance at life. A mysterious benefactor is bringing together a new task force and has recruited the only person who could lead them, someone who knows what it's like to come back from a brutal death, Red Hood. I love Red Hood, so
I love Red Hood too, and I think that's what my big beef with this book is I kind of hate how DC uses Red Hood as like their whipping boy.
if they're smart, they'll use this to elevate him, and
You would hope.
which actually leads us into, we're going to do a video here soon. Top 5 reasons Batman is a great character, and top 5 reasons Batman is a terrible character.
I did get the short end of the stick with that one, I will say.
Don't tell them why you said that.
I'm not gonna. Yeah, no.
So,
Later videos.
so you're not excited? You're as excited about the Task Force Z one?
I'm not as excited. I'll pick the first one up and read it. It might be a good story. It might surprise me. I might have to eat my words. But
So the only thing that I'm kind of worried about is Mark Rosenberg is writing it. So the good part is that it seems like Tynion is kind of mentoring him right now. He's co-writing 2 things with him.
can we just have a moment to appreciate Mr. Tinian? Just a small moment, please.
I know you're reading like everything. He and
can
Cullen
do
Bunn.
no wrong for me right now.
He and Cullen Bunn, I think, are your 2 favorites,
yeah,
right?
100%. Yeah.
I feel bad for Cullen Bunn because I feel like he should have a larger following than what he does.
I
but-
feel like he should too. I feel like he flies way under the radar, and I'm kind of okay with it because he still writes amazing stories.
Yeah.
So
But Mark Rosenberg, I'm pretty sure, is also the one that wrote the Punisher War Machine storyline, which was not all that like great. But actually, that one's getting a lot of buzz right now, though, with a lot of fans. I personally,
visually, it's cool. I mean, you put a skull on a robot, and it makes it 10 times better, no matter what it is. But
I'm pretty sure that he wrote that storyline.
Yeah.
But anyway, Tynion is mentoring him right now, and they're actually co-writing the DC versus Vampires one, which is a 12-part series. And it's a Justice League versus Vampires. You're more stoked for that one?
oh yeah, the cover of that is amazing. By the way, the Green Arrow staking a vampire with an arrow and Batman with like a shard of bone. I'm 100% behind it.
I know you. As soon as I texted you the story, you were like, "I'm on board."
Yeah, 100%. I'm on board. Yeah, the 12 issue thing is it? Did it? I didn't see whether it was like a bi-weekly or a monthly or.
I assume it's going to be monthly.
Which seems a little long for me since they kind of hyped up the whole like it's coming out on Halloween. It's like a Max title.
The only reason I assume it's going to be monthly is because the Superman versus Authority thing was supposed to be monthly, and apparently DC has backed off of that and retracted it and made it monthly because they said the retailers asked them to be able to like change their numbers and see where the orders lie before issue number 2
I guess it makes sense from a retailer standpoint.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm really excited about it. James Tynion involved in the DC versus Vampires one. I think that has the potential to be as big as like Marvel Zombies was in the early 2000s. Kirkman was coming off the Walking Dead. I think it was a mutually beneficial thing to both of them because Walking Dead got a little bit more play in the mainstream because he was writing Marvel Zombies. Yeah. And Marvel Zombies also got elevated because the guy who was writing the biggest zombie book at the time was writing it.
Are vampires the new zombies now, though? Is that where we're going with this?
Anne Rice is coming back to write some new vampire titles, apparently.
Spammed with bloodsuckers forever now?
As long as they're not sparkly, right?
Okay, I'll give you that. Scary vampires, please, not sparkly vampires.
we will see about that, though. But like I said, it sounds like a very good story as well. Obviously not very like super serious or anything, but it sounds like it could be a fun read and get kind of dark and like you said, the Green Arrow part sounded very interesting.
Anytime anyone can make Green Arrow interesting for me is a plus because I think he's the most boring character ever. Not ever, but
I was gonna say there's a couple I could think of.
Yeah, not ever, but he's up there for me. He really is.
So. We will definitely come back to this one when the series starts coming out, and we'll see whether our expectations were met or exceeded. I'll be honest with you, I'm excited for DC versus Vampires. I'm actually more excited for Task Force Z, though. I think that one's going to be like really good.
I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's awesome, and I have to eat my words, but I'm not holding out hope.
You're not holding out hope?
I'm not holding out hope.
So let's move on to topic number 3. When I told you about this, you're very adamant in your feelings. I have some contrarian viewpoints on it, just to be contrarian. But
actually, now that like I read the post and like read through some of the comments, I think I understand it a little better. My viewpoint has not changed on it whatsoever. But
so the storyline, or the story that we're talking about, is on Facebook. There have been several posts over the last week or two regarding comic book shops who do not price their back issues. What they do is they wait until you bring them up to the counter and then they price them. And it has caused a firestorm on Facebook. And it's almost like Civil War all over again. Battle lines are drawn and brother against brother.
Nerd rage.
Nerd versus nerd. I don't know. Like I said, I'm a retailer. But I will start with you, and then I'll give my viewpoints on it, and also my contrarian viewpoints.
From a retailer standpoint, I can understand wanting to get the most out of your books and wanting to, charge what you think is a fair price. This shop in particular, the photos that they posted, it was a mess. It was really just a mess of comics. And I think the majority of the people that were posting and responding to it kind of had the same feelings I did, where like if you're going to go into a store and spend an hour, 2 hours, whatever, digging through all of this stuff that's not really well taken care of, not organized, only to like take it to the counter and then not really know what you're going to be charged for it, whether he's going to give you a discount. It feels like you're kind of doing the work for him, which is not really cool in my eyes. Also, I feel like you're alienating a pretty big group of customers. Like your average person isn't going to come in and dig through back issues like that, especially not knowing what they're going to pay. If a parent brings their kids in for a book, like, you don't know how much that is. I feel like you're kind of cutting your nose off to spite your face.
What if he, this is a contrarian part of me, what if he had a laptop available and said, I go by cover price, fair market value?
I
And
mean,
he left it available for people to like type in whatever.
Sure. But if you're gonna like, I think my whole thing is like, if I can go to a store, like this one, and flip through the back bins, and everything is priced and it's organized, it's in alphabetical order. You know what you're looking for, or you can go into a store and get handed a laptop and like go, expedition your, I don't know, like it seems to me that like hardcore collectors and people who like know about the market, I think would thrive in that situation. But your average person, I don't feel like is going to do that.
So the reason I ask you that is you do Magic cards also.
Yeah.
And Magic cards are the exact opposite. Most stores do not have them priced in their displays. They normally are like, the commons are like they're 10 cents or whatever.
Right.
The uncommons are 15 cents, 20 cents, whatever. The bulk rares or whatever. And then all of the rares are priced at the counter as people pull them. At least most stores do that. There are some stores that do price them, but it seems like most stores have adopted the price at the counter for the cards. Like you said, we do not leave our back issues unpriced. We go through them, we price them. Sometimes I'm not as up on it as I should be, but
Found that out the other day.
well, I mean, we have like 100,000 comics, and it's difficult to.
And I understand that, and I think that was his
Well, not that one, but there was another post that I told you about. I couldn't find it. That guy was complaining he had 10,000 comics, and I was like, man, I wish I were back down to 10,000. I could.
And I can understand being like 10,000 deep and not wanting to go through and price them. But at that point, I guess you kind of take the loss and say, they're $1, or these are $5 books, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that it's like a bad way to do business or like a shady way to do business. I just feel like it's kind of lazy, and gotcha. I feel like you're cutting out a piece of your customer base that isn't necessarily going to want to do that work.
Well, the other post, the guy has a sign hanging up immediately as you come in, and also above the books and everything, saying, hey, these will be priced at the counter. He doesn't hide it. Right. Some of the other people were talking about stores that apparently don't tell them. And now, I'll be honest with you, if I were a customer and went to a store and I'm looking at 20-cent books and they don't have a price sticker on them, I'm not assuming that they're 20 cents. Mm-hmm. So at that point, I would ask the question before I even went any further, like, hey, this is marked at 20 cents. Is that the price on it? Mm-hmm. I also told you that there was one that was like, he implied that he was a lawyer and like, this is against the law. And
which is hilarious to me. I love it.
And then as when they asked him to provide the statute, he was like, well, you have to pay me a lawyer's fee in order. And he's like, cool. Can you show me the statute and your law degree, or else you're just pretending, and then that's against the law. Like, it seemed like that went downhill very quickly for.
It did, and it seemed like there was like it just like any other Facebook post or whatever. It's all going to devolve into shenanigans at some point. But I feel like there was some good points made, and like people had some valid arguments for each side of the equation.
And the thing is, like, my thing is this. If you don't like the way the store's doing it, don't shop there.
Bottom line, if you don't like it, then just don't go there. I mean, there's plenty other stores you can shop at. I would just feel bad if that's like the only shop in the area and you're kind of stuck going there. But
I got you. So my other contrarian thing is one of the store owners posted, okay, cool. I just got in 10 long boxes and a collection, and you come in and ask me whether you can go through the collection. So do you want me to price them and allow you to look through them? And almost everybody universally said yes. And I was like, well, now you're just arguing over when the pricing takes place. And
it's very situational for me. Yeah, it's very situational. Like if you come in and you're asking to like sift through a collection, then you know what you're looking for. You have an idea. Yeah. But I mean, we've seen it. I've just been here hanging out. How many people come in with like small children or young teenage kids who go and just flip through the back bins, and you can hear them talking, oh, I want this. Well, this one's expensive, but this one, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it kind of feels bad to me. I know as a kid, if I got like hyped on a book and then we brought it to the counter and the guy's like, oh, that's a $50 comic. You can't get that. I would be pretty bummed, and I probably wouldn't shop there again.
I got you.
And it would probably make my parents mad.
But my question is, do you find that contradictory, though, that you're saying, not you personally, but like, oh, I would never buy from a shop that doesn't have a price. But if it's a new collection, let me have the first
I mean,
pack.
yeah, that's totally contradictory. But I think it's also kind of situational and two different things. Like, if you're going to that store, then you know what's up. Then you're probably going to bring your phone and look through things, and that's probably what you want to do in general. But I feel like there's the other half, and probably the bigger half of people who don't necessarily want to do that, and just want to go and find fun books, and maybe, you go into a place, probably, at least I do, like, I know how much money I want to spend, and it's kind of like that anxiety of like, oh goodness, am I going to be able to, that's not, I'm not about that. I just wouldn't shop there, but that's just me.
And just to be clear, and not to sound like a jerk, I don't let anybody look through the collections until I price them.
Oh yeah, no. That's, yeah, totally.
Just because the keys and stuff, we grade here.
Sure.
It's how we make the bulk off of the collections.
Makes 100% sense. Yeah.
But I just wanted to make it clear that I am not the.
You're not playing favorites.
No. But you also know, like you had mentioned, we go through all of the back issues, and we keep them alphabetized as much as possible with people putting them back where they don't go and the like. But we'll turn the page on that. I'm sure with the Facebook continuing to have posts about it seemingly every day, we will have more to talk about. I'm sure there will be more explosive commentary.
To talk about, yeah.
So before we move to our last topic, the one that Chris is chomping at the bit for.
Chomping at the bit.
Don't forget to stop by our retail locations. We have 2 locations here in Maryland, one in Frederick, downtown Frederick. If you're looking for a day trip, it's a great place to go. Lots of great food, lots of breweries. I personally don't drink, but from what everybody tells me, there are a ton of great ones down there. I don't know, do you? Nope. No.
You lost me on that one.
But there are a lot down there.
Downtown's pretty. I don't know. Yeah. There's a nice record store.
And then if you're looking for more back issues, I would go to the Walkersville location. It's a much larger location, and we have, like I said, about 100,000 back issues in there, growing all the time. We're adding more and more. So let's move on to the last topic. And so we were discussing things that I won't say irk us, but make us question like certain things about comics. Yeah, they just don't make sense to us about comics. And we want to make it clear, like, we still love like the characters and this and the aspects of it. But sometimes if you sit back and think about it too hard, it starts unraveling, and you're like, no, put it back together.
You follow the thread and
yes.
Yeah.
Don't pull on the threads too hard.
Don't.
So if you don't want to pull any threads, you may want to stop the video, but not before you like and comment. So we'll start with you. I only have 2 that I wanted to cover, but we'll start.
I only have like 2 real main ones. I think my first main one, like when you sent it to me immediately, was I guess it's been my beef since I was like a little kid, as I've never understood Superman's disguise, like the whole Clark Kent like Superman thing. It's always, even as a little kid, like I don't understand how a pair of glasses like really.
They did try to explain that later on. Like, one of the things that they try to say is he vibrates his face very fast and it makes blurred pictures and stuff.
That's okay.
But I'm like, there's clearly panels where
he's just like in a suit with some glasses and nobody knows, and then all of a sudden he's Superman. I think my other thing with that was always like, what happens with the cape while he's in the suit? Like, is he just like tucked down his pants? Like, I don't. They've never
Kryptonian technology.
Kryptonian technology. Okay, all right, that's it's totally fine. Yeah, I've just never understood that whole like.
It goes into the Phantom Zone.
The Phantom Zone, yeah, his fortress of solitude. Is somehow a phone booth that's just a box of windows is private. I don't know. That never made any sense to me. And it always made me lull.
So that's your top one?
I think that's my top one, yeah.
So this one's not my top one. My second one will be my top one. But since you mentioned Superman, one of my biggest pet peeves and things I always question is why DC, and I know it's because of Frank Miller. And
wow, right out front. You're like, Frank Miller, it's Frank Miller's fault.
Why is Superman always portrayed as the authoritarian when Batman clearly would be the one who would want to control everything? He's the guy who has a dossier on his friends. He's the guy who keeps track everybody. Mm-hmm. I don't know. To me, Batman is the guy who would go off his rocker and try.
He screams control issues.
Exactly.
Yeah.
and Superman's always been optimistic, like, oh no, humanity can do it.
Right. Yeah.
So that was always hurt to me because I'm a huge Superman fan, and I'm like, no, that is not who this character was.
I'm the opposite, though. I'm a huge Batman fan, and I could really take or leave Superman.
And yet you don't want to. I almost spoiled the Batman thing.
Anyway. Spoilers.
What's your second one?
I think my second one was, and I know it's been covered before, but it's always kind of irked me, is like why superheroes don't age. Or when they do age, it's for a very specific purpose. And I feel like...
It's not true. All the sidekicks age.
Okay, the sidekicks age. Which is so weird to me. That like the sidekicks age, but the heroes don't.
Nightwing's like 28, Batman's like 32.
Yeah, totally. But I don't know how that... But he somehow like raised him from a little... Yeah, none of that's ever made any sense to me. But it's weird because I feel like Old Man Logan and Old Man Hawkeye were two great stories. They were super good, and they were old versions of the heroes. So it's like they've proved time and time again, like DC does it with Legacy and all that kind of stuff. That like
that's why I like Jonathan Kent, Superman and
Kingdom
Lois
Come was a great run, and all those they're all in their 60s or whatever. So I feel like it's just kind of weird that like. They don't. I feel like it would make a little more sense, and I get that they want to hang on to the properties and the characters and whatever, but it would make more sense if they kind of aged along with us. And like Superman, I get you could say the Kryptonian sun or I don't know whatever, but
you say it's because of the properties, but I think the opposite would be more beneficial to them if they did Legacy. They have more properties to put out there. Plus,
I would probably read like an old guy Superman comic.
Well, so so you would have different generations that would be attached to different ones, and you could have like, and Marvel's starting to do that now with Kamala Khan and Miles Morales over the last 10 years. They have those younger guys who are a little bit different than the older generation.
Yeah.
They seem to try and keep it a little bit more consistent in terms of like the personalities and stuff than what DC tends to do. It seems like they're trying to do it a little bit different.
I feel like they kind of hang on that. They want to make the emotions and the stories feel real and the tragedy and make you feel things, but they don't like. I don't know. I think I would feel it a little more if the characters were a little more advanced, maybe mature. Like I'll go back to it again and again and again. We have done so much dirt to Peter Parker. Like, my God, I feel so sorry for Peter Parker. But he looks like he's 12 still. You know what I mean? He's like 65 years old, but he looks like he's 12, and he's had the most tragic life ever. It's just hard for me to like.
Well, by the time he was 20, he lost a girlfriend. He lost his uncle.
Why?
His parents are nowhere to be
We love Peter, but we hate him. We just love to beat him up. I feel like it's the worst. So
my other one, my second one, and maybe we'll get a reaction from our cameraman with this one.
He's shaking his head now.
The X-Men don't make any sense to me, and the reason the X-Men don't make any sense to me is the Fantastic Four are beloved, the Captain America is beloved, Thor is beloved, but the mutants are hated. If you're an average Marvel citizen, like, why wouldn't you just assume that those guys are mutants as well? Like, why wouldn't you hate all of them, or why wouldn't you like all of them? It seems very inconsistent to me. To me, it should be off in its own little world, separate from the rest of the Marvel universe, in order for it to make more sense. But
yeah, I understand, and I agree with you on that one. I think that it was the X-Men were written for a very specific reason with a specific theme in mind.
I'm just saying their place in the Marvel universe seems weird to me.
Yeah, it does. And it always kind of has bummed me out that everyone just hates mutants, quote unquote, because they're mutants. Actually, when I was reading through some stuff yesterday with my coworker, she asked me what I was doing, and I explained to her what the question was, and she really knows nothing about comic books, but she was like, that makes total sense. Like, why would people love Captain America? Like, how do they not know that he's a mutant? Yeah. And I guess she said
they love
that
Fantastic Four. Like, they throw parades.
They love
and stuff.
it, yeah. And what she said, and it kind of struck me, and I thought it was interesting, is that she said that they had the choice. She said Captain America had the choice to become Captain America.
But again, how does the average person, within the Marvel universe, if these people were real, how would they know that that the government wasn't just lying to them and like, oh, it's a mutant?
The government doesn't lie to anybody. They're 100% truthful all the time.
We can edit that out later.
No, I need the cred. Don't edit it out.
So, like I was saying, like if you put it in real world perspective, like, would you trust
It
that?
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
why would you hate Cyclops and totally be okay with Falcon? I don't know. It's never really made any
well,
sense.
I understand
to
the
me.
hate for Cyclops. He's a terrible person, but
He is kind of a whiny baby. Yeah, I'll give you that. But everybody loves Wolverine.
yes,
I feel like Wolverine, it just gets love. Wolverine could do no wrong, I feel like,
especially 12-year-old girls apparently. But
ever. Oh,
let's,
here we go.
You can edit that part out.
We just took a turn.
So we'll turn the page on that topic.
Yeah, before we get in any trouble, please.
And we want to thank you for watching this edition of Turning the Page. Hopefully you enjoyed the topics. Let us know what you think. What comic tropes or aspects of Marvel DC have always like confounded you as to why they are the way they are. Again, it doesn't mean that you necessarily dislike the content. It's just it makes you ponder why a writer hasn't filled
Facial recognition. That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying. Facial recognition.
Are you talking about because of your government comment?
We
or-
can go to space in comic books. We can summon demons, but facial recognition doesn't exist.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
No
Okay.
one can ever recognize a. Yeah, no, sorry. I could go on this about for days. Yeah, totally.
So we want to thank you for watching. Don't forget to LCS, like, comment, and subscribe to your local comic book shop, Brainstorm Comics and Gaming, here in Frederick and Walkersville, Maryland.
You
Thank you for watching.